We are back. It is series number 2 of the final day of the first Super Week. And it's all we've been waiting for because we just get more games of League of Legends. I'm so excited though, Tally, Skimmy. It's Ground Zero versus Dire Wolves. And we got one lane in particular on everyone's lips. It's tantalizing almost. Let's just look at this head-to-head graphic we have of Lemus versus Katsuri, not Katakuri. Just confirming. But look at this, Tally. They're looking so good.
Yeah, and I think it's really telling the champion pool difference. We see so many carries coming out of Katsuri, whereas Lemus, who would consider one of the best, if not, I would confidently say he's the best AD carry in the league right now, playing center every single game. So he's just like, guys, you know what, I'll play the support, I'll scale up, and I'll carry late game, but you guys have to carry me to that point in the game. So it's really nice to see, and I'm really excited about how Ground Zero drafted as a team. I think I had a reinvigoration for this team, from their last series about how they approach the game.
But another big thing here, Skimmy, though, as well is, yes, you're playing center, but it's the solo kills of these stats, just having that impact, especially as an AD carry, is quite huge.
Yeah, really, really devastating in terms of those initial first few weeks of gameplay, right? You're playing the Jhin, the Draven, the Caitlyn, you're getting it done in terms of, stomping the laning phase, then rocking up to these team fights, or just rotating between lanes, and you're just one-shotting people, right? So maybe it was a little bit too easy for old mate Lemus. He says, you know what, I'll just play 4 games of center, back to back to back to back. I'll lose early game, I'll roam all over the show, go 0-5, but still just pop off and do the most anyway. It doesn't seem to phase him. So whilst you look at the match history of Ground Zero and say, like, hang on a minute, they're playing like half the same champions all the time. It's a winning formula. They said, you know what, if you think we're one tricks, we'll play the Amuma, we'll play the Nasus, we'll keep you guessing. And if anything, today, we spoke to Sherd. I am praying for some Zyra jungle. How hype would that be to close out the week?
That's all I want. A 20-minute Baron on the dot. That's all we've been asking for, and I don't think it's too much to ask for. But let's have a look at this Ground Zero roster as they have been at the top of the leaderboard for so long now, and they just look so good. We talked about Lemus, but Skimmy, you mentioned Shenfire as well. You got TN there too, the Camille one trick. I'll throw in a little bit of Poppy though, Tally. But this team looks so good.
Yeah, they
certainly do.
They look so good. When I keep thinking about this team and how, Skimmy mentioned it before, he said that they have this one identity, and then if you don't get rid of it, like, what are you going to do? But a team last night got rid of it, and they just pulled out the craziest thing that we've seen so far, maybe in professional league so far in this split. So really excited to see if, they want to keep going with this approach about attacking, the AD mid jungle with the AP jungle and just really, hone in on this one style.
Well, I like the one style, right? But I like that they're also mixing things up. And Skimmy, you probably want someone I want to talk to about this. They've thrown out all these random picks. Do you think this is the right time for Ground Zero to be a little bit spicy with their team comps?
What I would imagine, they feel already pretty well versed in how each other wants to play, having stuck with the core squad, and the introduction of these 2 new players doesn't really seem to faze them. They've all fit in like a glove, and they're going to be very happy. And I suppose we can talk about new additions being the same case here for Dire Wolves, because it was the most fantastic debut for Chungy, joining as this new mid laner for the team, regroups his his LCO career after a 2-year little break, and comes out swinging as the Yasuo. Absolute 1v9 performances we're going to see from some of the replays here. Gets the MVP of the series. Not a bad way to open up your accounts overall, but I think they've gone from strength to strength. I think you've seen that Mayfun has really grown into the role of a top laner. In a split where we're probably seeing the most role swaps we've seen in a hot minute, especially in LCO anyway. I think it's a really, really promising sign to see that there's a fair bit of versatility. Also, you see the Poppy support there too for Shinky, so they're not afraid to do a few crazy things from time again. So I'm actually curious to see if this is going to be a very conventional draft, or if Ground Zero actually feel threatened enough that they also need to do a little bit more spicy picks to practice to close out week 4.
Well, that's the big thing now. Tally, I want to pass it to you as well. Do you think Dire Wolves, as they currently are, might be the Achilles heel for Ground Zero?
I could definitely see that being the case. I think, with the addition of Chungy, and I think that Shinky's champion pool is very slept on, especially into these teams who like to play these greedy junglers. You saw how much Shenfire fell down in our yesterday's series, and in the case where they play a lot more towards that, we're ahead, but we have the team comp to back it up. I think that Dire Wolves could be the team to really take a game off GZ today.
Well, you've said it. We might have to talk about it a little bit later on, but we have just one of the new names, the new face in the scene, joining us on the desk. It is actually GZ's Kurak, the man himself. First off, how are your classes today, mate? You doing all your homework? You feeling successful studying?
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty good day, you know. Like, went to school knowing I beat Bliss last night. And it was for your birthday as well, so it was a pretty good study session today, you know, at school.
Oh, I'm glad that my birthday impacted your study. That's super important and feels good for me that I'm sort of helping the next generation of players. Now, I want to ask, coming into the league, this is like your second split, I believe, playing in the pro leagues. How are you finding it?
Yep.
You finding your feet in Ground Zero?
Yes, I've improved a lot from like the first split, I would say, like at Kanga. Like I'm really happy that I could join Ground Zero and they gave me the opportunity to like show myself, and let's see where I go from here, you know. Hopefully at PCS, hopefully I go a bit further, but yeah.
High hopes, mate. High hopes, and I'm excited to see that journey of yours. But right now, you're in the LCO, and right now, you got to prove yourself and make it to the top. But Skimmy, I know you got something for Kurak.
Well, I do, Kurak. We've been talking about all these off-meta picks. You obviously inspired a meta name for yourself with the Zillion support last split. My question is, obviously this split, you're the only one on the team that's been locking in the same champion time and time again. We got Leona, Nautilus, and Ornn on repeat. It's just like you look at your champion screen, it's like, I can only choose one option. What do I do? The rest of your team, though, slamming things like the Nasus, and Mumu, Varusmid, whatever it may be. So at what stage can you say, Benvi, sorry, you're muted. I don't know what you're saying. I've locked in Zillion.
I mean, like, if I do that, I can do it, you know, like, nothing's stopping me, but the problem is that team comps will struggle, you know, like, the problem is, like, Shern wants to play these AP junglers, obviously, like, she's played, like, every single game. Top lane, I have no idea what's going on up there, but Nasus is working somehow, and I'm just forced to go into the same engaged supports every game, maybe with Senna on, maybe I'll whip out a Tom change, like, maybe that'll be my 4th champion, who knows? It's not spicy, but it's something, you know?
Did you see our early our pre-show where we're talking about some off-meta picks around the world? Like we got like Tarek in the LEC, we got Nico in the LCK. Are we thinking of like taking a little bit of inspiration to still keep that tanky front line so the rest of the team can still play their carries?
I mean, I could give it a shot, you know? Like, I think Tarek's alright. I don't really see how it'll fit in our drafts, though. That's a bit of a problem, but we could try some other stuff, you know? Like, I'm always down to try something new.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome, mate.
Nice. Tally.
And, I mean, Pike mentioned your development in Ground Zero, but I want to know a bit more about your partnership with Lemus in bot lane, because you know, from a forward-facing view, Lemus is he's a troll, right? Like, he's on his stream, like in solo queue, like he's an inter. But, you know, behind the scenes, I hear a lot about, like, how he's, you know, the hardest worker, he's a very smart person. So, like, how does it feel, or, like, what do you get from working with Lemus? Is it, you know, like a fun time, or is it a lot of joking, or is it a serious approach?
No, honestly, Lemus is like pretty chill, you know. Like it's not that serious working with him, but he does give good feedback and is pretty like critical, you know. Like you have to know how to take feedback and like improve on it. He gives like him and Shern. I think Shern's also very good at this. They don't sugarcoat things, you know. They'll tell you what you're doing bad, and you better improve on that. All right, like you have no option when you're at the team. But yeah, nah, it's really good though. Sometimes I give it to Lemus, you know, like yesterday where he just like died level 1 for no reason. Gotta give it to him a bit. But yeah,
give it back.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome to hear.
That's awesome to hear. Well, thank you so much, Kurak, for coming on, mate. It's so good to finally get you on. Can't wait for more chats in the future. Good luck tonight. We're rooting for you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too. See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Just a
It does make me wonder though, like if he has like a little bit of clout at score, right? They're like, oh, so you're a pro League of Legends player, like
100%.
Like, oh damn, like, do you want to add me, bro? Like that'd be kind of hype.
Bro, you
It's
want
like,
a
I'm
duo?
on the best team,
You
by the
want a
way.
duo
Like,
with me?
don't want to talk about it.
I'm Emerald.
Well,
I'm an Emerald Yasmin. You want to do her?
Yeah, do you want to make a Smurf for me, man? Oh, I can say I play with a pro player. That's hype, man. Oh wow.
Well, I know he's got concerns because I've been chatting with him and he's just like, I'm worried about PCS, not about the gameplay, but getting there with school because he's in such a crucial time. He's like, I don't know how I'm actually going to look at the schoolwork, and I'm like, mate, you just go PCS. Don't even worry about school. You're at the peak right now. Don't even stress. Just walk. And he's just like, nah, Pike, that's stupid. I was like, yeah, good call. Stay studying. Smart. But no, really good to hear from him as well. Like, it's nice to see the other side of Lemus, right? It's that bot lane that shows up every night. It's good to hear that he's doing well, Skimmy.
It is, yeah, absolutely. And I think you know, there's certainly a few characters in the scene, right, that'll give you a little bit of persona on camera, but it can be very different off, right? So I think it's always nice to break that veil and maybe have your perception a little bit shattered in terms of, you obviously give off this kind of vibe, but when we actually talk about the game, you're incredibly smart, and I can understand why you have the accolades that you've already, got in your career. So I think it's a great place for Curek to develop himself, and much like we discussed for Styx beforehand, I think, the sky's the limit for these two. They could certainly be the next generation of, really strong bot laners.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, but we have another bot laner on the call right now. We have Katsuri looking fresh and fine as always. The man of the hour. Mate, how are you doing?
Yeah, we're surviving. It's been a tough day, not gonna lie, but yeah, doing well.
What's going on? Why has it been tough?
I was studying all day, work, and then yeah.
Nah,
I have to basically.
I get it, man. Yeah, well, how are you
Rude.
feeling against that? This is the Lima spot lane. Like, a little bit of nerves behind it?
I think he's a good player. I think he's kind of weak in lane, but he's very good at team fighting. So he plays a very scaling-centric style. So I'm looking to abuse that part of his gameplay. But yeah, I think all around he's pretty good player, like a solo player.
Well, let's not worry about Limas right now. Let's worry about you. How are you guys? How is Direwolves feeling in prep for tonight's series?
We prepped a lot because this team, I think they were like the harder opponent coming into the games this week. We have a U addition, Chungi. He was planned to come to the roster a long time ago, even though he only showed up now. Like he was always meant to be like the mid. So yeah, it's good to find we're able to show our cards for this match.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I think Chungi was a fantastic addition, but I know Tally's got a question for you, and I'll hand it over.
Yeah, and so I'm curious because you've been playing for a long time, like myself. I'm curious. You talked about your day a little bit and how it's been, but what does your usual LCO day look like? Do you do anything in particular to prepare for your match, or is it just wake up late, show up, or are you a busy person?
So usually we go through a lot of draft scenarios. We just keep redoing the draft before. We do countless drafts. We spend hours on it. I usually just check statistics on every single team before I first them, and then I just run through the VODs. So I do a lot of studying before I play against most teams, and then that actually dictates what I play. Usually my bot lane is dictated from that.
It's awesome to hear you're doing a lot of really good prep. I remember getting stuck in draft scenarios for hours and hours and hours. So I know what it'd be like.
It's hours. It's actually crazy. It takes so long.
Well, Skimmy, you're our final question. Hit him up.
Yes. Well, speaking of bot lane and sort of preparation and all the rest, I suppose a lot of the players in this league have been looking to dabble with Senna plus whatever. But yourself have been very much focused on all these hyper carries, right? Be it the Aphelios, the Kaiser, and the Varus. So has that ever been a consideration, or does it not really fit the identity that you guys have been working towards the split, given that it has been, make sure that Katsuri is as fed as possible?
I'm actually open to the idea of Senna. So, as I said earlier, Chungi was planned to come to our roster way earlier, but we just never shown him. We have more changes actually coming through later. So usually when I play right now, it's actually just it's just band-aid solutions, I'd say.
Sure.
And but yeah, I'm open to the idea of it, but for now, usually I stray away because my team likes having me on hyper carries.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
You're so good at them, though. That's the difference, though. That's the difference. We like seeing you on them, so it makes sense. But Katsuri, thank you so much for jumping on, mate. Good luck in your games tonight. I know that prep's going to come through. I can't wait to see you shine.
See ya.
Look,
Here we go.
this is it, man. This is the two bot lanes that was been sort of looking at too. I'm excited to see it. I think Limas might have a couple things to worry about with all the prep that he's putting in, Tally.
Yeah, Katsuri has downloaded his enemy. He's put it into his 5G chip that's installed in his head. He's ready to absolutely run every draft scenario already. I don't know what Ground Zero can do anymore, guys.
Well, we'll have to see what they're going to do with the side selection available. Let's have a quick look at where these teams want to be sitting. Okay, a little bit of a change up again. Blue side for GZ, red side for Direwolves. Skimmy.
Yeah, I think usually when we have a bit of an underdog story and they feel like they've done enough preparation, they tend to opt for the red side, so they get 2 games in which they can really run through all those simulations, as you would have heard Telly and Katsuri discuss, right? So they think, okay, what's our ace up our sleeve, all right? 5th pick, this is how we beat their comp, this is what we look to go for. And I think maybe you give more and more priority towards Chungi now that we saw in their last matchup, right? That actually they had that two-pronged attempt at saying it's not just the Katsuri show anymore. We've now got another threat. And I think if they continue to evolve this roster, as you mentioned just then, I mean, I'm scared to see just how strong this Direwolves roster could potentially be. And do we no longer talk about a top 4 or, the big 3? Does it become the big 4 instead? There's a lot on the line. I'm very intrigued to see what it all looks like in the end.
The hype, the mystery behind it too has got me feeling like I'm on my seat now. I'm like we've already had such a banger split thus far. How can it get any better though, guys? But it can get better because we've got Twitch channel points right up there waiting for you to put them in so you can get maximum gains.
So
Just
many points
like
up there.
Dragku as well. He's on the maximum gains. He's hitting the iron. You too can hit said iron if you put in those Twitch channel points and support your favorite team. It's Ground Zero or Direwolves. It's pretty good odds for both. You could be stacking, but we'll have to wait and see. But we have our predictions right now that we'll get to. And it's looking like we're all pretty confident in a Ground Zero 2-0 tally.
Yeah, but I have to say, in times past, we have the match of the split, we have that meetup between the two top teams, and then the next series always results in upset. Just for some reason, I can't quite quantify it. So I think that this is the time for Direwolves to strike if they really want to prove that, we are one of the contenders and we are making this a top 4 league all of a sudden. So I would say, if it does go the way it should, this should be a Ground Zero 2-0, being very comfortable with, having these multiple drafts, having multiple ways to attack the game. But I'm afraid for them because, the script writers have been messaging me.
Oh, and much like Kurak Zillion, I'm just going to time warp out of here and I'll let you guys take over in the first game of this series. I'll see you in a bit.
Beautiful there, Pike. Well, let's crack on into this one and get to see how the Super Week does come to an end. The league leaders undefeated at the top of the table in Ground Zero, playing in back-to-back days. And as you mentioned, Telly, I'm not sure what it is. There's no denying that, every opponent gets shown the respect and the preparation goes towards it. But there's something maybe in the back of your head where you're so focused on beating, in their case, Bliss, that you're like, well, everything should be easy thereafter. And no doubt there's going to be a lot of fighting spirit out of the Direwolves camp to say we can cause an upset, and especially with a lot of these very unique bans.
Yeah, we see the Camille being removed straight away, and I think this is a very good call out for Direwolves. People have tried time and time again to deal with this champ from Ground Zero, but I think it enables Schoenfeier's champion pool too well. Tien is too proficient on it in any matchup, so it's really good to just remove from the game. But in response, we see Chungi being banned out, a lot of his top picks being removed from the game. So what are we going to see from Chungi?
Even the double ban, right? Because I mentioned to Chungi in this interview, will we see the mid-Kais? He's, oh yeah, maybe not, but we certainly have seen it from Katsuri. So a lot of great champions taken off the board. You said, where's the Corki? Well, there it is. It's a first pick from GZ.
Yeah, and Fido showed this pick yesterday and how good he was on it. He went for the Triforce Rapid Fire build, the heavy scaling Corki build. But, when he finally hit those 3 items, 4 items, he was Valkyring forward and just one-shotting members on the Bliss lineup. So if this does go towards the mid again, I'm completely happy for Ground Zero to play that one, as it is an AD champ to fulfill, Schön's plethora of AP champs in the jungle.
And he certainly does. He has far too many champions to try and dabble through. And there is the Jace. The champion that you also mentioned should be considered when teams are looking for an AD option in the mid lane with the likes of Corki and then even Tristana denied. What comes next? Well, Jace is on the cards, and it's actually quite refreshing to see.
And I think that teams need to start thinking about Karthus right now, because when you prioritize both these, poke, scaling, AD mids, Karthus is the best. We talk about AP junglers being strong, but Karthus is the best AP jungler. His clear is the best. His guaranteed damage is the best. So whatever team decides to prioritize Karthus here, I think we'll have a much better time in the mid-late game stages of the game.
I would agree, because I remember a few metas ago, probably actually when you were still active as a player yourself, right, when we were just getting run over by Jace, Kaiser every single game, and you just lose the poke. You're like, I'm trying so hard to engage, but I'm already down to 50% before the fight truly breaks out. So let's see with this variation with Avaris on line 2, if that is there to upset anything anytime soon. Will, though, be the Ashe and Leona. As to be expected, Leona all day, every day. But what is Shinky thinking here? Currently hovering on the Alistair, and maybe just giving that ability to, pull the trigger and go.
His Poppy is available if that is something he wants to look towards. We saw he looked very nice in it, but it's just going to be the Nautilus lock into, match that support threat coming out of there. But I really like to see the, Tien in the drafts, because he's very active on his camera. We get to see when champs are being hovered, it's like, oh, that's not what I thought you would pick at all. That's not what I would do. I would never do that. But go back to the 4-5 bans for Direwolves, we get to see probably the removal of the double AP or the considered 2 best AP junglers that Direwolves think Shern will prioritize. And then in response, Shern will probably remove champs that counter what he has in his back pocket.
Wow, it's actually the Carfist getting banned out here, despite it being a potential really good solution to this rather annoying poke composition. I wonder what goes along with the brand. Is it a known quantity in that of the, you know, like the Lilia, for example, or even the Nidalee, perhaps? Or do they say, you know what, we don't want to be surprised by anything crazy, be it the Amumu or Zyra?
I think when we look at like certain comps, when you play the brand, you don't want to be versing, you know, the high range poke. So I think Shern's a bit glad that the brand was removed this game. He doesn't want to be playing that into the Jace, into the Varus, because it's quite hard to get in to do your damage when you're so low range. But the Amumu is a very good answer to that. You know, you get to engage, you get to be that solo AP threat while still being a tank. So very nice rule from Direwolves. Curious what AP jungler Shern wants to pick. You know, he mentioned he has way too many tools in the toolbox for people to deal with. I think, you know, the Nidalee is still up, the Talia is still up. While, you know, they may not be the best picks with the comp and versus the enemy team, it still fulfills that role as the AP threat.
Certainly does. Skarner taken off the table then, so even more ways in which they could have hard forced their fight in a favourable manner. Lilia getting currently hovered at this stage. Yet to see it come out from Mochi. Has been very much a case of playing the hard engage. You know, it could have been the Skarner, the Wukong, the Xin. But in those last few games, right, showcased that he can be a carry if given a chance. Played the Talia, played it really well, and was quite keen to, you know, add to that repertoire. So another champion removed from Shernfire. And it may just be a battle of who can clear the jungle kick quicker. Yeah,
and we know that Shernfire is very comfortable when it comes to those full clear matchups. And I think when any volatility is removed from the early game, that's when Ground Zero becomes a very scary team, because they always pick these high-tempo junglers, high-scaling laners in the Camille, in the Corki, in the Tristana. Just a lot of threat if the game is in a stable state. And this is why Ground Zero's drafts are always, you know, so solid, because they have multiple ways to win the game, multiple facets to attack the map. And we finally might get to see Tien play a different bruiser besides Gillen. We do get to see the Renekton locked in. So, you know, the classic Nidalee Renekton in the top side. What top lane is Mayfine going to pick to counter this? Probably looking at the Gragas, Skimmy.
I would say so. Certainly has looked very comfortable on that Gragas as a champion. He can certainly flex between the jungle and the top lane. But as you mentioned, right, been a long time since we've seen the link up between this OG combo of the Renekton and Nidalee. And should really have an easy time now leading his lane to top, or even go towards the bot lane, right, with all the CC of a Leona as well as an Ashe. Opts to go against that and says, you know what, actually, I want to go for a Jax. I want it all to be about Lilia.
Yeah, we see Tien in the camera with the no way he just picked that into me. I think this is a very good matchup for the Jax. You know, always going to be Renekton's favorite in the early game, but having access to the counter-strike means you can avoid the stun and the gank threat coming out of the Nidalee spear. You know, we always think about that combo, that damage that comes out. Jax gets to scale up in the 1v1 and be very strong. Also to note, Skimmy, double 80 carries against Jax has never been good. You know, when he gets so much cooldown in that counter-strike, potentially builds a Frozen Heart in the mid-late game, he can be such a large threat as a flank coming through on his double 80 carries.
Certainly can. Really are hoping that the Jax does scale up and become a bit of a menace, because not only is it the ability to try and nullify those 280 carries, but certainly can be a bit of a split-pushing demon as well. And say, how does it feel now, Tien, to not be on Camille? Forced to play the Renekton and forced to group up with the rest of your team. Overall, though, I think both sides are going to be quite happy. Ground Zero are going to play a very stock standard, you know, case of making sure that the Nidalee has all the lanes, all the access to pounce and prowl, whereas for Direwolves, they've run the simulations countless times. An opening pick of a Jace that we've just not seen in such a long time. And I think if they can get enough poke and harass and enough power to make it land, they could really bring the heat to Ground Zero here.
Yeah, absolutely. Both teams are very happy with the comps they got. Ground Zero never really care about the champs they get. They just want to fulfill that identity they have with AD mid AP jungle. As long as they get that, they're always going to be happy with their comp. Direwolves also, you know, trying to match that identity, trying to draft a bit more of this, you know, scaling into the mid game, playing around a really fed jungler and winning these team fights. And I think they have all the tools to be able to do that. So, gonna be curious to see what really happens in the early game. Is Shernfire gonna play for an invade onto Mochi? If these skirmishes do happen early, I think this is when we're gonna see the Leona and the Nullis really shine.
That we certainly could do, Tally. Let's load into the Rift then for our second series and the final one of the week. It's Ground Zero up against Direwolves. As mentioned before, Ground Zero sit atop the throne undeterred. 12 points on a single defeat to their name so far. And if Direwolves still want to retain their tie with Ion for that 4th position, they would need to get a perfect 2-0 here tonight. So a lot on the cards. But let's see if anything occurs here from the level 1 go.
Yeah, it's just going to be a lot of fanning, honestly. I think both teams are a bit afraid of, splitting the map, because I always talk about, with these full clear junglers, you don't want to initially invade, because on your re-clear, your camp spawns are just, the timings are off, which means you aren't getting as much golden experience as possible. So always playing for the standard full clear is just more efficient on these champions who don't want to blow the game up early and want to be able to get as much golden experience as possible.
So, as a mid laner, what are we expecting from this matchup in particular? Also, we know that for Fido, Corki really is his bread and butter. But in terms of the Jace, how does that want to try and interact?
Well, the way most Jace matchups work is if you step outside the creep wave, he's always going to out-trade you, right? Landing that shock blast combo does a lot of damage. But, playing inside your creep wave means you're just always going to trade orders on immunes with Jace. It's going to be a bunch of... even trading, even pushing, because it's very hard for Jace to land that combo. It's just all about Will trying to be able to find that, melee hammer combo with the auto attack follow-up, and you get to see the trade back from Fido. But he has the fleet footwork, Skinny, which means these extended trades will always favor him as he has the sustained advantage.
Yeah, even with that phase rush to try and get a bit of movement speed himself, wasn't enough to run away from that Gatling gun channel, which did a lot of damage in retaliation to that hammer form slam. So going to feel a little bit worse aware now, already chugging through those consumables and going to be very much reliant then on that Doran's Blade. Meanwhile, topside, Tien's done so much damage onto Mayfan. But he's reminded them who the boss really is. And even in the bot lane too, I mean, overall, every lane is certainly going GZ favored.
Yeah, I think something to note right now that's really important, Skimmy. Schönfire not opting to part towards top to counter the really punish Mayfan and dive him for the amount of health he lost in the early game. He's playing for the invade onto Mochi, so he wants to abuse the priority he has in mid bot right now thanks to the really nice trade coming out of Fido, and try abuse Newly's strength in the early game. Play that 1v1, find the execute, but Mochi is going to leave, doesn't want anything to do with that. He's going to have to walk to the enemy's top side, but he's going to do it over vision.
Yeah, he certainly is. Even without the spear connecting, enough damage was done for Mochi to show respect and say, you know what, you can have that side of my jungle. I'll just play towards here. He's going to path up into the top tri-bush and realize, what, there's another bit of vision there as well. So easy said than done for me to try and find a way to bail myself out here. Not even entertain the idea of a gank. Actually just going to completely go into the enemy side jungle. Shern says, well, that's easy enough for me then to turn a Gromp into a gank and say, who's our focus? It has to be Katsuri. He flashes, he cleanses, he still falls on down. Shern just breaks the tower range, and the shock blast comes in as Chuggy burns the TP, flashes the wall, and the flash does not save Kurak.
And that's the saving grace there. But on the other side of the map, we see Fido walking in to push Mochi out of his camp, both Solar's collapse, and find an easy kill. Really, really nice early game from Ground Zero. Pretty much every single angle that they had to attack was executed on, and really well defended by the Solarians coming out of Ground Zero. This is the expertise we talk about in these matchups, and this is why it's so hard to play, carry into carry matchup versus Shern, because he's so good at utilizing his team to make sure you have a hard time.
Absolutely, yeah, would have no doubt been communicating to his team, I'm making this gank happen, he's no doubt going to be looking to try and invade. It was a simple peek into that lane and say, hello, what's happening here? You're unable to deny anything from us.
He has no flash. He might be going down here if the Zenith Blade does land.
Let's see what they can do. The acceleration gate is there, but the Zenith Blade will connect in tower range. Is it enough? Is the stun there? Oh, look at that hook from Shinky! That may have just saved him. And they are so unfortunate, the Wolfpack, not to answer back with something, but Tien certainly will, as he gets a cheeky solo in top lane.
It absolutely saved him, and on the exit there, we missed it, but Mochi picks up the kill onto Kurak, so what a nice hook coming out of Shinky. But we see in the top lane, Tien so comfortable in these carry versus carry matchups. He is the coach of top lane, we always talk about it, and he does such a good job to find it. But will Lemus be able to survive this one with these summoners?
What can you do on this occasion? Here, going to be surrounded by 3 members. Has the flash available, but says, you know what? It is a done deal. I may just fall on down. Shinky really flirting with death. Doesn't fall on down. And that has to feel good for Katsuri to answer back to the gank he had already.
And now we talk about how bad it looks in the early game for Direwolves based on the early path from Schönfire. But I think that one hook from Shinky, saving his mid laner, killing Kurak in the aftermath, and then diving bot lane just really turned around the game state. And this is really, really good for Direwolves.
Yeah, it's really, really strong. It's a great performance to open up their accounts here in terms of respecting the pressure and answering back with some of your own. One thing to anticipate, but certainly another thing to make it work. I'm curious to see how this matchup in top lane does start to develop here, because it's not going to become easier for Jax anytime soon. The spear is looking, the wave is massive, It's a cannon one, so Mayfarm really can't do much to try and trim this.
2 seconds on stun.
And he's got nobody coming to back him up. He doesn't even have ultimate as the Dominus is active.
He's holding his stun.
They'll take these turret plates. They'll look for the stun. The spear is there. Shunfire tanks up 2. Walks away and they're saying, well, do we get this or not? I'm not sure.
I don't know how close Mayfarm is to 6. It might be the difference here.
He's just at 6, and he's just going to get the kill! We pan down to bot lane because there's action happening there as well. But that is crazy for Mayfarm's success in this one. Lemus is ticking down. The Ignite takes it in the end for Shinky. And is this the makings of a bit of a cheeky upset here? In a straight-out 2v2, Direwolves win.
That should never happen on that dive. Skimmy Shunfire throws his spear before the stun even lands, and then, you know, they wait for the cooldown to come back up, but they completely miss it on the initial dive, so Mayfarm gets level 6 and takes out Shunfire. That should be a completely free dive for the top side of GZ, but I want to check on this bot side and how this fight actually turned out. I think this is an extended trade. Really nice hook from Shinky, which means he's taking the brunt of the creep aggro, and the damage coming out of Varus this early in the game, especially when he has a Dirk in his inventory, is just lethal for Lemus.
Yeah, it's a lot of damage. Certainly Varus will pack a bit of a punch at this stage of the game. And yeah, Lemus, as you mentioned, really can't look to answer back into this one. So, champion bounties are all gone. I mean, Tien already had it this early on into the game, so that's got to feel good for the side of, you know, the Direwolves. But it's back again. Grubs are being slain. And Nidalee obviously excels at doing that.
Yeah, we do see the kill lead going to Direwolves right now, but Ground Zero still have control of the map. Have to see if Mochi is able to take away this red once again, like Sean's communicating. He's going to go for this camp. Guys, can we collapse? Can we punish him? Will he be able to pick it up in time? He does have access to the smite. I'm a bit afraid that with the collapse come through, his flash is not off cooldown yet. There's still 18 seconds. This could be Mochi going down on the exit.
No, I think this is the case of him actually flipping it around, saying I've got Shinky in my back pocket here to protect. The bot lane of Lemus is locked underneath the tower. He's going to try and disengage away to Katsuri, but just out of range with that ZF blade. Even Chungi getting involved with a shock blast for the assist. And this is the best case scenario. If you want to make sure that this head-to-head is won by the Direwolves, make sure Katsuri is fed.
The scriptwriter Skimmy, they're whispering. It might come through.
It could happen. It could be just that classic example of you've won the match of the split, but now can you win the game thereafter?
Yeah, and I think that it's very telling that this game looks so bad for Ground Zero right now. It looks like everything's falling apart for them, but they're still managing to keep the gold so close. As Tien once again going for the all-in on top side, and I think that with his item advantage and his cooldowns up being up right now, he might just find another solo kill.
Yeah, he's going to find it. It was quite clever there from Mayfarm to ward hop to safety and lose vision for just a second, but so hard to escape the crocodile. He's 3-0. This is going to be a very scary Renekton, and not one that we say is going to fall off into oblivion.
And can Tien have the same impact on the Renekton? You know, we're used to Ground Zero games where, you know, the mid-bot side completely explodes to something unfortunate, but Tien's on that Camille, and he still carries the game because he's scaled up. Can he have that same impact on the Renekton? You know, he's so far ahead right now. Will he be able to have the same, you know, presence in these team fights going forward?
The flash, otherwise Shinky was a dead man walking there, but it's not going to stop the aggression coming out of Kurek. Relentless in his ability to make things happen, but maybe a little bit too eager as they try and get the final tick of damage to complement that final Ignite tick. Lemus will get one, his first of the game, but as you mentioned, Mochi is on the hunt. Flash, bop you on the nose, and take you down for a double. And this volatility is really spread across the rift.
Yeah, and this Varus is starting to become very scary from the Direwolves side. Katsuri's going to base and potentially pick up his first lethality item in the opportunity and be so far ahead of the clock when it comes to his damage. You know, we look at Lemus's inventory. He doesn't have anything. You know, he's got boots and he's got a bunch of swords in his hands, but unfortunately, he's not going to do the same damage that the Varus is right now. And when these skirmishes start happening, the Chains of Corruption is going to be the difference going forward.
It could just be a case of running it back with 2 Varus games in a row. We saw just how strong Styx was and how far ahead he got with the lethality, and certainly Katsuri is working his way to that promised land as well, in the exact same matchup, no less. So it is a very scary time if you are Lemus to think, okay, well, how do I actually become relevant again? Still going to be working, no doubt, towards that crit itemization, but going to be sorely behind and be much more reliant on the rest of his team to try and bring him across that finishing line, because as it stands, big lead for Fido, bigger lead for Tien, but the gold as an overall is dead even.
Yeah, and I think that is thanks to Ground Zero's, you know, solo laners. I think they're saving grace right now for the GZ side. Both of them doing really, really well in their individual departments. Fido getting a lot of attention from his team, which means he's able to create this, you know, really nice, you know, 20+ CS lead. And scale up towards that Triforce as soon as possible. And it's so important that the solo laners stay ahead, as we are seeing, you know, 2 side laners from both sides. So whoever is going to be ahead will dictate the map in the mid game.
Let's see where this game is heading towards, because every single time we check in with top lane, Mayfan's life is pretty miserable, quite honestly. Constantly locked underneath this turret, as to be expected given the fact that the Renekton's already got an Eclipse. Not an item you see ever too often, but it certainly means that he wants to snowball out of control. The counter-strike is there, he dodges out of it, flash forward, he can't find that final auto-attack, does he dare decide to run past? Surely letting this turret die and deny all those minions. But I think he must feel so confident knowing that, look, this Jax is not going to be relevant for a fair minute.
Yeah, they're just leaving top on an island altogether. Tien gathers this lead, all thanks to himself. Pretty much the only time we saw Schoenfire in the top lane was when he fell down and gave Mayfan his only kill. So really well played to Tien, be able to pick up 5 plates to himself. He's going to be an absolute monster. And if this fight does break out on the bot side of the map right now, as we do see Kurek on wards.
Oh no!
Oh no.
That's devastating there from Katsura. He's flashed in a straight line. We saw it earlier today. The Ash Arrow was always going to connect, and he's just going to throw away that lead, unfortunately. That really does bail Lemus out of a poor situation. He was keeping even with the CS, but that gold means the world.
Oh no, Skimmy, indeed. They were on vision the entire time. Katsura just, you know, sometimes you have that, like, knee-jerk reaction and you just, you know, press a button on your keyboard, and unfortunately the flash was in the wrong direction. Now spear lands on the Chungi, and he has to flash straight away.
And he certainly does, not taking any chances for that one for the Nidalee dive to come on through. So let's see what the response will be here, because as a result of that, you can see just how much that gold meant. The shutdown was huge. And what we were talking about just a minute ago is that actually allowed Lemus to go back to base, pick up the Kraken Slayer, and actually not fall too far behind now, that of the Varus.
Yeah, and we get to see the gold lead in top lane right now and how much of an impact Tien is going to have. And I think something really important to note right now, he does have these TP. So any fight that breaks out on the map, he will be teleporting into. He's going to be close to a level 11, getting another point in that dominance, which is so important for Renekton. You know, when you remember the buffs from a while ago, where they changed a lot of Renekton's strength being into the later parts of his ultimate levels. But the sleep will go on to Renekton. I don't know if the damage can be.
Let's see if they can try and go towards the spear across the wall from Schoenfire as he looks to entertain the idea of taking all 6 Void Grubs in the end. So I'll take you down as well. Easy pickings for the side of Ground Zero, but it's not working out too cleanly for them just yet. They've managed to find one. It's just a support, but Kurek's under threat right now as the shield expires. Same for his overall presence on the map. No supports featuring here. And with Tien dying too, it's actually a big win for Direwolves.
Yeah, definitely. They finally get the shutdown. Unfortunately, goes over the Shinky. Does get the Warmost, but the arrow will land onto... Oh, nope, no one right now. So...
Oh my god. Oh my god. Way too close for comfort.
Whoa. Yeah, it does go wide. Fighter's going to Valkyrie in mid here, but Katsura has a lot of damage if he does want to commit it. Coming through.
He's dead. I like how you just paused your sentence there. We didn't need to really say anything because it was truly a little bit of cinema action. But in the end, the TP comes on through. Chungi here to save the day. And this game's pace is so quick compared to what we've seen before.
Yeah, this is action-packed, Skimmy, and the winner of all of this fighting, I always say it, is the person on the side lane getting as much gold as possible, and this is Lemus. There was 4 plates on this turret, so he's picked up 3 of them. Unfortunately, doesn't get the last plate before the plates fall off, but he's going to be able to get the turret if he decides to stay around. Going to be, you know, the smart man and probably play it safe because he is getting collapsed on, so if he wants to overstay, he might fall down.
Red team's turret has been destroyed.
Well, the first turret of the game then falls on down, given the fact that Lemus was not interested whatsoever in grouping up with the rest of his team. He just wants to keep farming. He's given all this free space to really play catch-up and make sure that that gold lead that was so well put together in those first 15 means absolutely nothing. So, a bit of an easier map state for them to try and play around now, and I'm curious to see where they decide to turn their attention towards next. If that's a easy enough ability for them just to plant their bot lane in the mid too, and force Fighter to try and farm up those side waves.
We see both objectives being up in the Dragon and the Herald, but Direwolves is really late onto the map. You know, they try to stay on the map as long as possible to maximize their income, but this is the problem with, you know, delaying your tempo is you get to objectives late, which means they're heading over the Herald already and not in position to trade for the Dragon, even though I think they are extremely strong right now. And this game is probably going to get harder for them as time goes forward, you know, when those summons come back up, when there is more defensive items coming towards the Ground Zero side. And Mochi, caught out of position, might go down.
In trouble right there, decides not to burn the Lilting Lullaby, thinking, you know what, I need to burn the Flash. So that engage potential is certainly going to be hampered for the meantime. Very strong on Lillian, no mention there that with the 8 stacks in the Dark Seal and the Blackfire Torch as well, certainly packs a punch. and does not want to throw that away anytime soon. First Dragon did go the way of the Direwolves, and with the second one up and available, it's hard to contest it given they're so stuck underneath this turret, and it might not exist in a second with the Herald coming on through.
Yeah, and that's the Chains of Corruption going on cooldown, so that's one of their main tools being used to poke out Tien as he was overextended a bit there. We still have... Direwolf still has access, some of their main engaged tools, we talk about the Lilia ult and the Null Assault being the most important ones, but using the Rift Herald to rotate to the objectives and hopefully finally get another charge off in the end before it dies would be nice, but it's going to waddle back into mid lane on a very slither of health and be an easy pick up for Katsuri.
Just another creep camp to pick up in the end there, so no interest really at this stage to go towards that Drake, and Fighter will eventually peel away to the top half of the map to begin the great trek of can we hit the 3-item dream, because we saw what it meant for him yesterday, and it really did make him the MVP overall. Level 11 though, coming across for a lot of these champions. First of all, found here by Schoenfire as he ticks across, already with that Leandri, so a very scary Nidalee at this point. As the Ashro immediately going to get cleansed out of, taking no chances with no tier 1 to fall back towards. And it just feels like as the game gets more and more into mid-game territory, Direwolves are forced to play a little bit more reactively.
Yeah, and it's just so important when you're versing these cleanse carries to be proactive with your CC. Make sure that it is on cooldown so the next attack you go for can be abused. But Mayfun is caught out here. Will he go down, Skivvy?
Surrounded by 3 members at this stage as the counter-strike expires. Yeah, he's unable to find anything to really force a bit of retaliation there. You can see Mochi just lagging behind, but very non-committal with the Swell Seed being dropped.
I think this is just the prowess of Ground Zero in the mid game right now. They've got nothing has really happened, but we keep seeing the Gold League growing, and that's because of how well they move around the map as a jungle support, as a trio. They're really enabling sides, always first to objectives, making sure that they're basing well as a team. We'll probably get to see them all base at the same time here, get off the map, and then come back on the map at the same time, which means they can attack the next objective, which is probably going to be this dragon.
You'd imagine so, and at a really good point in the game, right? Because everybody on Ground Zero is just spiking. They've just picked up 3 items in the bot half of their game, so at a fantastic moment in which they can showcase just how good they are. You can see identical builds coming out from both the Varus as well as the Jace, really itemizing towards all that lethality on-use burst before that mitigation truly comes on through. And I'm curious to see which team feels stronger, because you'd imagine Ground Zero up with a 4K lead probably feel that way too.
Yeah, they should absolutely feel stronger, and one of the main reasons why they should feel stronger as Gimme is because they have the engaged tools. They blew the cleanse on Katsuri, so they have the option to attack the mid lane if that is the case. Chang'e does not have cleanse or tenacity, so if any of these arrows or these Leona ults land, it will mean death. And Katsuri is in a lot of trouble right now.
He's going to be very, very careful. Got to sit so far back just to even look at the wave, not even get any of that CS, but even soak up any kind of experience at this point. You see all 3 lanes getting pushed further and further behind. And Ground Zero do be like a pack of sharks in the water, just swimming around, hunting for the next prey, waiting to see who dares look to try and challenge them.
Yeah, it should be an easy setup for the Siege, Gimme. There's not much to really worry about. Mayfun does have access to the TP flank, but there are no wards right now on the bot side because Direwolves are kind of all over the place and they're not really setting up for any objective. Ground Zero are walking all over the map as they want, and there's no cleanse on Katsuri.
As you mentioned, if there's no cleanse, they are in a lot of trouble. He burns the flash at the very end, but a fadeaway ignite says you're not escaping death today. There will be Kurek that picks that one up. Can Mayfun get the turret before the TP comes in through? It doesn't really matter in the end, because it will be Fido that can quite confidently just walk away from that one.
Yeah, and we get to look at builds as well, and finally get to see the Phantom Dancer Ashe. This is the higher DPS variant of the Ashe, and it spikes much earlier than the Triforce counterpart. I know Lemus is a big proponent for always doing the most damage possible and relying on your mechanics as a player to avoid the damage that you need to. So nice to see that he's going to spike a lot earlier and have his choice of going into the Infinity Edge next, or if he needs the Armor Pen, that too.
Well, it's a weird situation to find yourself in, given how well it went for the side of Direwolves. I'm curious to see how to look to try and claw this one back, because there's a part of you that thinks, well, the lethality obviously needs to be in the driving seat, but with Chang'e sitting on the tier that's only halfway towards being complete, I don't think there's really much liberty in them sitting around, because Fido's working towards the crit, Lemus as well, and whilst that's working, they're still hunting and they're still finding success. I think Mayfun probably just had the most miserable time of them all here. Now 1 and 4 really being pulled apart, and I think it's just draws a lot of attention towards the fact that you mentioned Direwolves are all over the show and their vision ceases to exist.
Yeah, and we never ever get to see Direwolves outnumbering a Ground Zero member, right? It's always Ground Zero, multiple members picking up someone out of position, really abusing the fact that they have these pushing waves in multiple lanes. And now that they get to see Bocce's on the bot side, they're pulling the Baron straight away, and they still have these tools to turn if the enemy does decide to walk into them.
Do certainly love a little cheeky Baron on spawn. Any crazy shenanigans to try and steal this one away, or is it always going the way of GZ? That to be picked up by Fighto. They find the fight thereafter. Shinky, the only one that looked to try and put up a bit of a contester. Flash to go forwards, and the hero in Fido to get it all done, basically, as nobody falls on down from their side.
Yeah, very easy Baron pick up the Ground Zero. They find the pick. They have the vision control from the initial deploy earlier. They see that Direwolves are out of position, and they just pull the trigger straight away, and this is thanks to like the double 80 carries doing so much damage to Baron, especially Lemus with his build currently will do a lot of damage to Baron. Even Schönfire, Nidalee is a very underrated Baron taker with the attack speed story to give to your teammates. Really abusing that to take a really easy Baron at 20 minutes.
I think it draws a big highlight also to one of the key points you mentioned during the draft, right? The fact that they have been so relentlessly bullying Mayfun on the Jax. She said that Jax is fantastic into a double 80 carry setup, especially when there's a Nidalee to bolster it too, but really put so far behind from the very get-go from some fantastic play coming out of Tien. I think that point becomes a little bit null and void at this stage, and he's going to very much be playing on a bit of an island, whilst the rest of his team is to try and fend off the aggression that comes out from the most part by Kurak, always going in first. He's 1-7, but not without always serving his team up with all these juicy targets to take on down. A flash forward volley, a rocket from afar. All they can get is one. As how has that happened there? Lemus is asleep. He's sleepwalking as he chucks out the Ash Shoal. Fido's had enough. Across the wall they go. And Schönfire joins him and says, you know, nowhere is safe on the Rift. Do you want to cause an upset? Not on our watch.
Yeah, and what a different game state we look at. Based on what we saw in the early game, we're like, wow, Direwolves has done a really good job to attack the weak points of Ground Zero, punishing these mobile champions, winning these skirmishes, winning these lanes, pincering on the fact that Ground Zero was doing some misplays in the early game. But we look at the game state now, and it's so one-sided, and this is all thanks to how good Ground Zero is at the macro game.
All three inhibitors all falling down in very quick succession. Not very often you see that happen, but that's the game state we're in right now. We've far gone past that 10k gold. We're looking to try and make it even more as Direwolves answer back and say we need some gold, and with our base in ruin, we're going to find it. Not only from the creeps, but also from all these shutdowns we're farming up to.
I really enjoyed how Kurak just staunched with the entire Direwolves team there, and he is by himself. Schönfire is too low on health to really be a threat here. Have to see as, Fido did TP to the base and he is ending the game. If, we can see that in the bottom corner, but what is going to happen with the rest of the team if they're not going to worry about their base?
Absolutely. Kurak's been an absolute hero there, just locking everybody down for as long as possible. Fido says, just buy more time, I'll get it done.
Oh no.
I am Oceanics X. Peke! Dies to a laser! But the order was already in flight. And what a crazy way to start off that series.
Yeah, another great way to end the game from what we saw last game as well. Another banger ending. I thought Fido had maybe Valkyrie into the fountain with the Jace knockback, but he does get the Nexus execution at the end there, and a really, really clean macro game from Ground Zero.
Maybe a few worrying moments at the start, especially in that bot lane, but they answered back. They said, you know what, we know that the rest of our lanes are winning. We can put all of our eggs into that one basket of making sure that Lemus will be a threat, and in the end, it proved to be the right call. So far then, 1-0, as it is that best of two, and our final game of Super Week for this one to come right after this break.